anniversary with the whole family, and
Oh,
it was at,
so
We're
you can't
starting
like
off on
sneak out.
bad dates,
Yeah,
fam.
you can't like sneak out or like duck your head down. You kind of have to keep up appearances.
it was terrible. Tell yours, and then I'll tell mine, and it's
Okay,
just fucking.
so I matched with this girl on Tinder back when I was on Tinder, and she went to IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is probably like half hour, 45 minutes for me. So it's not like that big of a deal. And she looked good by all of her pictures. And this was kind of like the inkling where for all the guys listening, what you want to do is if you have a suspicion that a bitch is fat before you meet her, look at her fingers. If her fingers are big, then like 9 times out of 10, she's probably enormous. So, anyways, I was like, hey, well, let's go get a drink somewhere. Why not? And so I'm at the bar and I'm waiting. I'm seeing all these really attractive girls come walking in. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Which one's going to be mine? And she said she was bringing a friend along with her, a gay friend. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. That's fine. I don't really care. So she finally walks in. I swear to God, she had to be like 6'2", 250 pounds, pierced nipples, black lipstick. I'm like, oh my God, I just got catfished by a fucking whale.
Half those things sound great. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
well, I'm pretty sure I was more attracted to the dude than I was the girl. And that's my buddy Tommy dropping in. I hope sex dolls replace women. These bitches just won't shut up.
Oh my god.
Oh, I
Actually,
love
I
them.
wasn't even gonna go on like the first date stuff. Hold on though, because my laptop that I'm using as my producer laptop just crashed on me. Which, I set everything up an hour in advance before this podcast so nothing would go wrong technically. And everything, like, why? Why am I cursed? Hi,
Whereas
Lab.
I just sit down, I'm like, maybe this will work. Let's just plug some shit in, and it's
So-
like,
Well, yeah, I mean, we still see you loud and clear. So
No,
what's
no, no,
wrong?
no. This my laptop where I bring things up onto the screen.
oh, the day. Well, I'll tell my story if you want to hear
Okay,
it.
it's your turn.
Yeah.
Then.
We can
So,
filibuster a lot of time, I'm sure.
oh yeah, I'll stand in front of Senate all day. I shouldn't say that. I literally just got my hands on an original copy of the Anarchist Cookbook, so I probably shouldn't say, "Oh, I'm going to go to Congress for next."
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
You just don't shout him down. That's what happened with Owen Schroer. He went there, disrupted a hearing, and then got a deferred prosecution agreement, and then couldn't. Basically, the rule was like, don't be an asshole in the Capitol, and you'll be fine. And he couldn't manage to do that, so that's why he's going to jail now. Sorry, completely wrong.
No,
Anyways,
sounds about right. Yeah, so it was the parents' anniversary, and these were people who were like well-off New Yorkers who used to be a lot richer. So like the dad was an architect who had he would on the drive there. We're in a limo on the drive to the restaurant. He's like, "That's my building. That's one of my buildings. That's one of my buildings." And I'm just like, dude, I'm like not. Yeah, I'm not a New Yorkophile. So, but it was great because I'm the like perfect person to like completely neutralize that kind of narcissism. Like we were at the restaurant and he's like pointing people out. I was like, do you know who that is? I'm like, I have no clue. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And he's like, that's the fucking coach of the whatever New York team. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't care. And like, we're going through and he's just name dropping people. And I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are. I don't care. And what made it ridiculous was it was supposed to be a 10-course meal at a 3-course measurement, like a chef's like special. I hear this is my uncultured ass. I hear 10 courses, and I think that's.
I love you so much for saying that. I love it.
I'm like, let's go get. I went in hungry. I barely had breakfast. I skipped lunch. I was starving. I was so ready to eat, and I didn't realize my folly until the 3rd or 4th course. I'm like, the first ones are appetizers. They're tasty, huge plates, very small amount of food. I eventually realized when they brought out like the steak filet mignon that was one forkful, and they like people were cutting it into multiple pieces. I'm like, I fucked up. I'm starving. And there's like this guy comes around with this huge platter of bread. Like there's all these different rolls and all kinds of different things to enjoy. And it's like the implication is you take one, but you have a big selection. And I was like, can I take more than one? And he's like, you paid thousands of dollars to be here. Do whatever you want. And I was like, just grabbing all this bread off of his fucking tray. And then by like the 7th or 8th course, I'm still starving. And then the bread, it's a whole like experience, and like everything happens in waves. The next table, And then I see the bread guy go into another table. It's like their part for it. And when he finishes doing, I wait very politely, but I'm just like, yo, bread guy, like we need you back here. And the whole restaurant is like horrified. And I'm this like country bumpkin who's just like, I'm hungry. I don't know how you fuckers are like surviving on this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
dude. I one thing that I actually kind of wanted to go back and forth maybe a little bit with was the fact that that guy had to name drop people and had to just like flex all the time. To me, is a complete loss of frame. Like this dude has, if he's the richest dude there, and if he's like the most
Well,
affluent guy,
he wasn't that. That's
Well,
definitely not the case.
okay. Well, but like, if was he kind of the guy like responsible for setting everything up then?
Yeah,
Like,
he's
maybe-
definitely, he paid for the whole night. He paid for like all
Gotcha,
this
gotcha.
stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so like the point being is that like if you're that kind of guy that has that kind of money, and I'm sure he's worked his ass off for it, then like you should maintain frame and also like demonstrate to other people that like you have the situation handled, and you shouldn't have to like name drop to show that you're that guy. You know what I mean? Dude just admitted he paid he paid thousands for a yeast infection. Oh, Tommy's comments are going to be greatly appreciated. But like, basically, you should be able to handle a situation like that without having a name drop to like show your social proof. It should just be like, hey, it's known that you're that guy. But like, just doing shit like that, I think comes off as like genuinely fucking douchey to people, and people don't fucking like that.
Yeah, I think my assumption is that because he had like, so there is some there's some like tragedy with the family. Like one of the kids died, and he left the high paying job to like be closer to home, and then took like a regular paying job that it wasn't like murder now. So there was like they had to sell the yacht and all that, you know what I mean? So it was like one of those things where I think they used to be like, I think it was more for him to try to like get back to where he used to be, or feel like he's back in the
Sure.
you know. And I remember
Buddy,
that,
come
like,
here.
when I used to do the fucking New York party scene, it was always about like who's partying with who's knowing that shit. And this is 15 years ago, right? Like it was what clubs could you get into? Very like American Psycho. Like, oh, which places are you going? Like bouncers love people turning people away in proper Manhattan. So I think there's a New York aspect to that where he's just trying to be like, I used to be one of the players. And I just, you know, I'm like, I already knew from where I was born that this isn't like, I'm not going to be a Gatsby who's trying to like fit in with these people, which is ironic because I'm now like actual friends with like multimillionaires and people who like.
Yeah, but see, like you don't have to like name drop the people for clout, you know? Like, I think you're pretty cool. Jesus, it was a joke.
You chased her away. Our only credibility here.
Yeah, it takes us out of the sausage fest category. But like, you know, you're an affluent dude. You're a good dude, and you don't have to go around and say like, "Look, I fucked all these women, and I know all these people." You should let it be, man. That's the way it should be. Like, I don't go into bars and say, "Oh yeah, I played with all these bands." If it comes up in conversation, yeah, I'll talk about it. But like, I don't know, people that just like can't wait to flex in front of people, that shit's so fucking off-putting. And I think people interpret it that way too. Like this dude's trying way too hard.
Yeah, I think the way to do a flex is the more niche down. Like if it was 3 or 4 layers down, and you're just like, oh, I got my moment. I'm ready for my line right here. Like, yeah, I did that. That was me. But if you like, you can't be the one to introduce it, right?
Right. Well, either that or like, there's a red pill concept called dread, which is basically like where you would want a woman to come on to you essentially because it's going to develop dread in your partner because she sees that someone else is like coming on to you and is attracted to you. So that kind of confirms in her mind that she's with a good option because other people are attracted to, you know, you. So the idea that you have to like, if you go out to a bar and you hit on a waitress and then she hits on you back, that's like a sign of lower value because it's like, well, why do you have to do that? Like it should just be natural, right? Like the flex should be natural. It shouldn't have to be like, I'm going to go in your face and tell you what I did. Like other people should affirm your social proof. So that's interesting.
Never been a woman.
I disagree with that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, like, so when I'm successfully flirting, it's very much the like I'm feeling good and I like connecting with humans. I feel like the only time, like, I think what you're talking about is don't try to fuck someone because when you try to fuck somebody, you push them away. But having fun, like, so my behavior is like when I'm out in public and like, you know, people will see that as me hitting on them, but I don't think that's the like, you know, if it's flirting versus hitting on somebody. I don't know if you're drawing
no,
a
I
distinction there.
yeah, I see what you're saying. Basically, like you're a charming person, so if you're generally pleasant to be around, then people are going to want to be around you, which I completely agree with. Like, and if that does kind of border on the line of flirting, I think that's okay. But as long as you're not like literally pulling somebody else to the side and saying like, I'm going to fuck you. Okay, well, that's obviously a little too far. But like, once again, the social proof should be evident without you having to push it in people's faces. Like if you go somewhere and you know, the bartenders, the waiters or whatever like that, then that's your social proof. And these people know that like, hey, the woman you're taking out, she knows that, hey, this is a high value guy because he has these other people that will basically vouch for him.
Oh, wait. So while we're on the topic of first dates, I wasn't planning on showing this, but now that we're here, I'm going to run everything on this computer. Not ideal, but it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. So
take Tommy's comment down.
Oh God.
Wait, who's been married once for 2 months?
Tommy's busting my balls. I've been actually in about 2 weeks. It'll be a year.
Oh, congratulations! There you go.
Y'all can see this.
I see.
Put your DMs away.
Oops.
Let me just get the door for you. Okay. He got me at the Cheesecake Factory, y'all. I ain't getting out this car. Yes. Would you want me to open the door for you? Okay. You're recording me? Yeah.
This poor fucking guy, dude. When I watched this the first time, I like just cringed. I was like, no, this bitch is not doing this right now.
This is a chain restaurant. Who takes someone that looks like this to a chain restaurant?
You want to talk about it?
I'm fine with talking about it, even in front of them.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about it. Yeah, come on, get up on in the car. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
And then I think
why does everybody hate the Cheesecake Factory? I fucking love the Cheesecake Factory.
I do as well. I don't know, but then she posted this, which I mean, I'm pretty sure this was probably like, her 7 minutes of fame, type of thing. Dude, this got 10.2 million views. Oh, what? Why does my messages keep popping up? Here's a list of places women absolutely refuse to go on a first date, and thank you to the ladies who reached out to me to help me make the list.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, no.
I like that jacket.
God, that looks like something I'd like want to piss in. There we go. Beautiful. That's
okay. Well, coffee dates. Fuck you. I love a coffee date. And I would say no on nightclubs. A bar just for drinks. Like she's hookah bar, bowling, something that requires a long drive. Like what the fuck, dude?
Something that requires a long drive is actually pretty good. Like that's.
I don't know if he tells you and it's something super cool. I don't see that. I mean, if he's like, so we're gonna go on a long drive, but it's gonna be worth it. I'd be like, word.
So long drive to the middle of the woods, or you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things from a like
to the middle. I guess if you don't know of this person.
Yeah, I mean, if you're dating a friend, it's like whatever. But I think some of this is bad form, but some of this is fine. I just think it's like you said, coffee dates, fucking shit like that's a totally different beast. I think this is talking about like evening slot, like Friday, Saturday date proper. I like some of this is pretty bad. Like if you guys want to go dancing, go to a fucking nightclub. That's fine. Yeah. If communication solves all my big stance. But some of it is pretty like I don't know, like elitist. It feels like
I think like going to the gym actually isn't that bad of a first date because I think that's like in my opinion at least. I've had good experiences with taking women that I'm seeing to the gym because I think that gives them a little bit more of like a positive experience. Like you're doing something together and it showed like me as somebody who's really, really into health and fitness. I can kind of show them my expertise in this and say, hey, like this is how you would do this exercise or that, or like, and I get people's hesitance to want to go on like dinner dates, but I actually don't think that's entirely a bad thing, because it allows you to give them a little bit more of like a exciting experience. Because like a dinner date, yeah, I mean, obviously everybody's done it, but there's less like there's not as much excitement,
I think she would have been happy to go on a dinner date. I think she was upset that it was a dinner date to the Cheesecake Factory.
The Cheesecake Factory isn't like cheap though.
I know, but it's a chain, so I don't think it's about the price. I think it's about the
location,
the like. What would be the word here? It's like, because a chain just implies not classy, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I could kind of see that, but like, okay, so Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is a chain. Would you consider that not classy?
I have no idea what that is.
So, all right,
you don't know what Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is?
I have a hatred. I have a hatred for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Okay, hold on. Would you not consider that classy though?
I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's fine. It would be a fine date spot. Why am I blurry?
Don't worry, you look great, Ryan, at all times.
I don't know about
blurring me out's only improving my look. I understand.
I would never judge someone initially if that's what they want. If they did that, like maybe I'd be like, interesting choice, but I wouldn't be like, oh, like horrible person.
Hold on,
maybe they're testing me.
Yeah, pull up this comment. Most steakhouses are not classy. Clearly, you have not been to any steakhouses if you think most steakhouses are not classy. If you go to Ruth's Chris, they will ask you to take off your hat if you have a hat. Now, like, if you go to like Texas Roadhouse or something like it, okay, now that's a different conversation. But yeah, like, I don't know.
Don't go to a nightclub. I would say don't go to the nightclub as the first location. Like, meet up somewhere else where you can talk. But if you end at a nightclub, that's not horrible. Go like this.
Well, I mean, it depends on it. Also depends on
no, farther away. There you go. Now move it.
It would also depend on the kind of person
it wants to
you're
blur me. I don't know what's going on here.
No, I'm sure it'll focus once you get it situated. Yeah, get it down. I want to see the beautiful tie-dye shirt.
Through my I was wearing this morning. I was
Longhorn,
like,
Texas Road, Alpad, not steakhouses. This is true. Not steakhouses.
I agree with that. With that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ruth Chris is a fine middle of the road. Like, that's a solid, like, you're going to spend $150, which is the correct amount for a date if you're trying to go by the like old school rules of getting laid.
Wait, there's rules?
Yeah, the old advice used to be $150.
Oh, really? Yeah, someone said 200, and I heard like Josh was like, who doesn't expect, like Josh Smith, Brian doesn't know who he is, but he said something about how like who wouldn't expect to spend at least $200 on a date.
I think, well, it depends on where you live too, because obviously if you go to or like New York or California, then $200 doesn't, will go a lot. It won't go as far as it will in like Pennsylvania, right? Because here the cost of living is so much cheaper. And Tommy, I actually think he has a good comment. This is all bullshit. If you can make her laugh, you can fuck her. I don't entirely agree with that, but like the rest of this is bullshit.
But those people can do anything on that list. You can literally be like, yo, we're gonna go get some fucking breadsticks at Olive Garden, and if you're laughing the whole time, those are exceptions. This is, I think,
exactly,
yeah.
Well, basically, like you're trying to gauge genuine desire. So, like, if somebody actually wants to be with you, and they won't care what the date, what the setting is, then they'll generally go along with it. Like that woman who was literally filming a video of a dude sitting in his car outside of the Cheesecake Factory. She already made up her mind. She did not want to fuck with. Before she even got there, she already had her mind.
Yeah, if he was a 10 or something, she would not have reacted that way at all. Like, she would have been like, I like Cheesecake Factory. Oh my God, you're so silly. You taking me to the Cheesecake Factory.
Those avocado egg rolls. What's up, my dude?
Look, this man is silly. Like, like I feel like it would have been a completely different vibe if she like made a joke out of it. That's kind of what I would have done, to be completely honest, is probably made a joke out of it. Like, even if I was a little disappointed because I guess in her mind, it's like she's thinking this guy doesn't respect me if he thinks that this is what I'm worth. That's her mind, because she has this perspective of what she deserves. So if he takes me there, that means he doesn't respect me. But if it was, someone else, I don't know if she would have had that same reaction, to be completely honest.
If everybody always jokes Justin Waller. If Justin Waller was taken there, she'd be all for it. But
is it fucked that I don't know who that is?
He's one of the red pill adjacent guys who owns a construction company, and he's a stud. So 6'3", and looks really good. So
One of the things that
Tommy has a really good point. Like, sorry, you got to make a joke out of everything. That's kind of what we would call fogging, where basically like you affirm her feelings, but you don't basically cave to it, right? You want to basically tell her like, hey, I acknowledge that you feel this way, but I'm still maintaining my frame because I'm recognizing your feelings, but like we're still doing what I want to do. So I think that's actually decent advice.
So the move would have been like, hey, if you don't want to come in, that's fine. I'm gonna go have some sweet avocado egg rolls. I'll talk to you later.
Bingo.
I'll drive you home
exactly.
when you're done.
Yes.
I'll bring something out for you.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, you're basically pulling your affection and your attention to that point because you say, hey, I'm going to go enjoy this with or without you. You're more than welcome to come along whether you want to or not.
Yeah, you could take an Uber home, bitch. That's what I'd say if I was him.
I'd have been like, I'll drive you home if you want as well. Like, I'm not gonna like if they're like,
you would.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I would be such a douchey guy, I think. I'd be like, nah, you good. Like, oh yeah, you want to go home? No worries. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get an Uber or there's a bus stop like a little bit down there. Like, good luck. Peace out. I'm gonna go have some.
Just fucking laying your full dick on the table.
If I've brought somebody on a date and somebody's like, I'm not feeling this, I'm like, all right, like that's fine. You can always opt out.
Yeah, they can opt out though. They can still go home, but like I got there. Why can't they leave? I guess it depends on if you live in a rural area or if you in a city. If I was in downtown Boston, I know they can find their way home. You'll be okay.
Super fair. That's very different, right?
I mean, for me to go to the Cheesecake Factory or anywhere expensive, it's going to be at least about 45 minutes to an hour drive. And funny enough, my wife and I actually our first date, we had to drive about an hour to get to where we were going to go. And I think Tommy was right. Fog your ass, Pipple. So I'm saying life is too fun for a bitch. But see, this is why I think guys who have this kind of perspective, I'm saying life is too fun for a bitch. Absolutely, it's dead on. Too many guys get in a situation where they get with a woman and they just make her their absolute pinnacle and they're willing to do anything to please her, but then they lose themselves in the process, right? You should always be your own center of origin and you should always want to do what's best for you. And then you want a woman who's, who wants to enter that world with you.
Yeah, you gotta date
or
yourself
you
first.
End up settling for sex dolls.
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
I'll tell you what, the cheeks actually look pretty nice.
Have you seen this video yet, Ryan?
So I came to the sex dolls from a different place. We'll talk about it afterward. Go ahead.
Okay.
Look at that.
It tickles. And then you get to the face and you're like, ooh.
The face does look pretty dead, but
like, I don't know, dude. I have a lot to say on this one too.
Like, imagine fucking spreading those legs and you just have that fucking dead face staring at you. Like,
dude, yeah, you always gonna be fucking that thing from behind. That's for sure. That is for sure. I have been in a lot of conversations about this. There's a lot of dudes. I know a lot of guys, actually, not a lot, a couple. Because I'm in an autistic group chat, and they said that like they want a sex doll. They're like saving up for it. They're all about that men. What is that movement? It's called like
MGTOW, men going their own way.
Yes, the men going their own way thing. And I personally think that this is not going to replace women. They're like that whole perspective is like to basically say that they're going to hold out on women. Right? Like that they're going to hold out and like the women will like cater to their needs because
MGTOW is basically MGTOW is basically a movement that believes that like there's no reward, no upside, and you shouldn't pursue women at all because it's all downside risk, right? You have no point without me. Yeah, no, he's full of shit. But basically, like the MGTOW guys had really got popular. I want to say probably around like 2013, 2015, and there's still a ton of them out there. I think they get the diagnosis right that like for men, it's very, very difficult out there, and the court system is stacked against you, and society stacked against you. But that being said, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, because I think if you just put like a minimal amount of effort in to be a little bit better than like the next, half a dozen guys, I think you'll do relatively okay. And I would like to believe I'm a good example of that. I mean, I can lift a good amount of weight. I live a good life. If you just put in a little bit of effort, you'll see the rewards because everybody else isn't willing to put in any work to improve themselves at all. So if you're willing to put in a little bit, you'll get there.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with the if you put in the work, it's very easy to cross the line.
Hmm.
I don't know if I agree with the premise that you should if you don't want to. Like, I'm a big fan of just people removing themselves from whatever hustle they're struggling against.
Hmm.
I agree that it's detrimental. Like, Japan is literally like dying because people don't want to date.
Hmm.
And like that's a problem at a societal level, but I don't think any individual member of the people who are like, I don't want to do it. It's hard and no one's happy with all
Well, okay. Well, there's a difference between like what I think you should do versus what like government should come in and mandate. Like,
no, I understand that, but
Yeah.
it's a cultural thing with like Italian men are really struggling to date because they were raised to like this is what you should expect in a relationship. And Italian women are like, I'm just gonna go date American men because they're just like, I'll cook you dinner, whatever. I don't give a fuck. You know, so culture plays a huge part in this, and it's really interesting to see people tapping out and being like, fuck it.
The globalization of dating, where people are like the passport bro
that's
thing.
totally what it
like
is,
now
yeah.
there's girls that are just like, I'm just going to go date an American because they'll let me be a little bit more less traditional. But I mean, that's interesting. So I did see this one tweet that I thought was interesting. It said, it's always facts don't care about your feelings until you point out the fact that there is no species on Earth in which every male gets to breed, which is kind of, you know, like a sad black pill, I think, or even red pill, black pill, whatever you want to call it for men. But there's going to be men that aren't going to get to procreate, and that has always happened. And I think that there's a lot of men that are fighting against that, you know, and like that's scary. The thing with sex dolls is that I don't think that it's a net negative, to be completely honest, because it's like for those people, like, yeah, it's good that they have an outlet. This is why I'm pro sex work and why I'm pro strip clubs, because I actually do believe that there are a lot of people, there are paraplegics, there are so many people that can't get that intimacy that they need, and this is an outlet for them. So I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't know if I don't think that the AI dolls are going to go give them the intimacy that they would get with a prostitute or an escort or anything like that. Personally, I would say like the oxytocin release, I think you get from the human biology connection, and I don't think you get that from the AI. Like, you're not going to get that from the bot. Like, you can't even, unless they make it so good that you can't tell the difference. But I personally believe that, because I do believe in a spiritual element, I believe that we will be able to tell the difference. Like, I feel like you can tell, like, you can kind of see if someone's just, if there's a person that seems soulless.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that you can tell the difference, and that people will be able to pick up on that. Maybe not like if you lack certain social cues, it might not bother you as much, but I don't know. I don't think, like, people are basically saying like this is like the beginning of the end of the human race and shit like that. And I was like, that's dramatic, because all of the people that can get fucked are going to still get fucked. And like all the people that can get women are going to prefer an actual woman over the fucking sex doll. Like, no one's gonna be like, you know what? This bitch is annoying. I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna choose the sex doll instead. No one is going to do that. I'm sorry. Like, unless you can't get laid, then maybe.
I have a conspiracy theory hat to put on for this if you guys want to hear it.
No, go ahead.
So the only time that your sentence is not true is after war, when there are vastly more women than men. Going back to, there's never a time in nature when all the men fuck and breed. So that is actually not true when there's a deficit or when you have a wide gender imbalance favoring women, right? So when there are many more women than men become a very high commodity, and there's a whole kinds of like cultural phenomenons that happened. I love the idea of the like people pulling the levers being like, we need war to keep this whole sort of like market value thing going. Like, you want because
but we have more women than men in the US.
We do.
Correct, I think but it's very close. Like, as the further you get from that, the more like women, it's a whole like the behavior aspects of that are super fascinating, and the way that women will chase men in like after wars. And like, if you think about like women in Russia, right, where there's so many women, they actually export themselves as brides because right. So it's this whole fascinating, like, if you don't get married by the time you're 22, you're useless, is a very like desirable position for like men in power to have young women, if that makes sense. And I think that these sex dolls are filling the role that men being removed from the dating pool by war would fill. So it's like a self-select. You get your ultimate anime sex doll, and you're just out of the dating pool. And so now it becomes this sort of thing where. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. I want to make sure you get your.
I'm on my rant. I'm on my rant right now. My fucking.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. If you're ranting, rant ahead, brother.
So, what's going to happen is we will have stratification of dating, where the people who are willing to make the effort will leap ahead, and then the people who don't will just become this pool, the incel pool, the people who are taking these things.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. And the problem is when they're dead, you don't complain. When they're just self-selecting that removal from the dating pool, the women who are remaining, the people who aren't getting these good matchups are upset about it. And so it's this whole movement of, we need men to be better. And it's like, if they're happy, you don't need them to be better, actually.
Right. Okay. So have you guys heard of the mouse utopia?
Ooh,
Yes, I have.
Okay, so the mouse utopia, it's a fascinating experiment where basically they gave these mice everything. They gave these mice everything they could possibly need, and what eventually happened is that some of the men, or some of the male mice, became so obsessed with grooming themselves that either they didn't care about the female mice or they were gay, right? And then there were other mice that fucked like rabbits, right? I'm not saying that human and mice subjects work perfectly, because in the nutrition realm they don't, right? But mice are very similar to humans in a social regard.
They're social
right?
creatures, yeah.
Exactly. So when you start doing these experiments with mice, you can actually kind of get a rough idea how it's going to look like in humans. Okay, so the reason why I bring this up, though, is because we were talking about MGTOW, men going their own way. You start to see some of these MGTOW men who are actually good-looking dudes who just got bad information and decided that, hey, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. I'm going to sign up for a sex bot, and I'm not going to engage with women at all. So they end up just grooming themselves and retreating from the whole dating market. And then the guys who still want to engage with women in the top, let's say 10%, get their pick of the litter. They can have whoever they want. And there's a whole bunch of other guys that just have no options. They're completely invisible to women. But if they put in a little bit more effort, they could maybe get to somewhere where they could be in a decent situation. And I think it kind of goes to your point, Ryan, of essentially what you just said, is that you're gonna have a whole bunch of guys that just completely drop out, and you're gonna have some guys that struggle, and you're gonna have some guys that have the pick of whoever the fuck they want.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but and it's also the myth of narcissists who fell in love with his own reflection, when you talked about their grooming and going out. Exactly. But I will say that just because you're hot doesn't mean just because you're physically attractive does not mean that you are attractive to women, because there are guys that can be physically very appealing but so fucking awkward and weird, and you're dude, you're beautiful but you are a fucking weirdo, they just don't have that social ability of understanding how to
just call him autistic. Call him autistic.
No, yeah, okay. Severely autistic. It is. I mean, it is the autism. Those vaccines must have fucked a bunch of people up, and then now we have a whole generation of people.
Vote from YouTube now.
I'm just kidding. Oh, but I wanted to say something about this. I don't think sexual gratification is a human right or something people need to get. I don't think stuff like strip clubs, prostitution are necessary. They're symptoms of a failing community or society. I never said anything about sexual gratification. I said intimacy, which a lot of people can think that strip clubs and prostitution are just about sexual gratification, and it's not. It is also about intimacy. Connection. Sex dolls are just about sexual gratification. That is the difference. So that's why I don't think a lot of these people that are looking for intimacy are not going to get what they want out of the sex doll. Mm-hmm. They are going to get that from a prostitute or a strip club, but they will not get that from the sex doll unless they make these sex dolls extremely human-like, and who knows, but I don't see that coming any day soon. Maybe in 50 years, maybe our kids are gonna have to worry about the fucking human sex dolls that are impossible to tell the difference, but we are not there.
So I will say, I would push back on that. I do think that not only is intimacy a need, but sexual gratification would, for many people, that can take a form of a need.
But it's not a human right. It's a guy can't be it's my right to get fucked. You can gratify yourself. You can use a fleshlight.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
But you can call it a need. I think it's fair to call it a need.
He said right.
I don't agree with right, but I do agree with need.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with
Okay,
need.
so like as long as humans have been alive, as soon as we could figure out how to use technology to get porn to us, then we did it. So I mean, that tells you on an instinctual level that men clearly want to see vaginas and they want to see boobs and they want to, experience some kind of sexual intimate, or I shouldn't say intimacy, but they want to. We want sex. So therefore, when the VCR came out, when the internet came out, when magazines came out, we all use this for porn. So yeah, I don't think sexual gratification is a right, but like you're not going to ever do away with the sexual desire of men. You will not do away with that, whatever you do. So porn's always going to be here. Magazines, any kind of degeneracy is always going to exist in a society, no matter what. You will
and
not
prostitution.
Exactly. You will not do away with it. You have to deal with it. And I don't have a perfect solution for it, but I think guys that have wives that are loyal to them and have sex with them frequently enough, that's, if you want your trad prescription, that's going to be as close as you're going to get, but you're still going to have some degree of that, because there are going to be some prudes who don't want to fuck their husbands because their husbands are either losers or there was something wrong with the wives. You're just not going to do away with it.
Wait, do you think that that's what happened to this guy? Hold, please.
Listen, Ben, get the fuck out of here, Ben.
This guy right here.
I can't believe I'm not the one who looks like he bangs AI sex dolls. Like I'm.
Yeah, come on, man.
God,
I got a fucking wedding ring on.
Wait, and it's funny because this guy's name's Ben too. So I don't even know who Ben Armstrong is. Crypto guy, I guess. This like went viral on Twitter. He posted this: sometimes in life you make mistakes you can't undo. Sad to tell you all that Bethany Literary and I are getting a divorce. She filed divorce papers to me today to get it out of the way, so there are no questions. Yes, I am Duchess of Defy. And then he goes on to like tell his sob, I'm so sorry to Bethany, my kids, over my mistake. This is his mistress, by the way, that he was cheating on her with.
Paramour.
We kind of
the legal term is paramour, actually.
What do you mean?
The legal term for a girlfriend when you're married is actually paramour. I didn't know this until I listened
Is
to James
that what the band name's from?
Well, what's funny? You know that song Misery Business?
Yeah.
That's all about a woman stealing a man. Yeah. So think about that and then think about the name of the band and then
Damn.
Yeah, and I found that up from James Sexton.
Just like that
my
band.
brother.
That is wild. But yeah, so this I wanted to go into because I said what does it mean to commit to someone? Me and Kyle kind of went on we had a little slight disagreement on Twitter about that, because his perspective, I said that if a woman did that, she would get in just as much heat. Like if a woman posted, because this guy got a lot of heat, like everyone was like, you're a fucking piece of shit, like for doing this. Kyle was actually, give your perspective, Kyle.
So basically I said if a woman were to post the same exact thing, then the women and probably even some of the guys in the comments would be willing to sound off and say that, oh, you go girl, this is a sign of you being strong and independent. No, I don't think so at all. I think
dude, a girl can't fucking post about fucking making shakshuka without everyone jumping down her throat because she's single. Remember shakshuka lady, the single girl? Everyone was jumping down her throat because she was like,
okay, that is like, a mildly fair
girl.
point.
No, anything. Like I don't think this is true. Like the internet jumps down men and women's throat equally, and I do not think that there is, like, sure, there's going to be fringe rad femmes, which I'm like very tapped into their Twitter right now because they're super fun to read, and there's like the like very fringe rad femmes that will just be pro women no matter what and will make excuses for women no matter what, and it's like whatever. I find their takes fucking just as hilarious as the most crazy red pill people because they're so funny, but like unhinged, like they're just very unhingedly pro women in my opinion. There's no nuance, no like looking at context. It's just like women right always. Just like a lot of these red pill things are men right always.
No,
I think women would get equally as attacked.
No, I think the vast majority of society is gynocentric, and they view women as the correct always. So if a woman does something wrong, then generally and I mean, you even see this in the way that they sentence women to crimes and the way that they treat women in court and beyond that. So I think that, yeah, you're probably right that like a fringe side of Twitter would probably absolutely lose their shit about a woman cheating and a woman moving on. But we do live in a gynocentric society, and we absolutely do treat women with kids' gloves compared to men.
No, they do not. The internet does not treat women with
Yes.
kids glove, especially not Twitter.
A fringe corner will treat women like men and absolutely go ape shit crazy on them, but the vast majority of people treat women with kids glove and treat them as
Keep in
retarded
mind
children.
Twitter's demographics is mostly men. This is true. It's like 70% men.
All right, so you proved my point.
Yes, well, that's why. I mean, sure, maybe on other platforms. I mean, but we're specifically talking about Twitter right now. She would have gotten just as much, if not more, heat. But like, and the other aspect of this conversation I wanted to talk about is just like kind of his behavior here. I think it's like really uncouth. I would say that like the only way I can understand this happening, like how he could tag his wife and his paramour in the same post is if his wife requested it because she wanted to be like, embarrass yourself. Like, no, we're going to do this. But you know what? My last request, I want you to post this on the internet so the entire world
I want
sees
the clout.
this. No, yeah, I want you to shame yourself in front of everyone. Like, and that's the only way it makes sense.
I don't
But it is
know if I read
Okay,
that
so
that
yeah,
way.
go. Let Ryan talk on this a little bit because I have some more thoughts, but I don't want to hog up all the air.
I mean, I think when people go through these situations, they're just like, you just get this idea in your head of like, I'm just going to fucking put it out there and then let the fucking cards fall. It probably wasn't the smartest move to do, but they're not going to, you know what I mean? It's like that urgency of just like, I got to fix this fucking problem. I got to do something about it. And that felt like a scorched earth post of like, fuck it, you know, and then like, now I'm done. Now I don't have to, like, now it's just Fallout and I can deal with Fallout, but I don't have to worry or think about it. I don't know. That's how I read this.
So, like, when I look at this, scroll back up to the his first post. Look at how many views that got, right?
yeah.
9.5 million views. Like, we realize now in 2023, everything is content. If you could get some eyes on you, the fucking dude got 9.5 million views. He has a blue check beside his name. This dude got some money. He got some engagement out of it. And all he had to do was air some dirty laundry, and then nobody's going to care in a week or two, and then he gets paid and everybody moves on. This is part of the problem with, and I hate to sound like a boomer, but with social media in general, is that everything is content. Like, I didn't post my new tattoo today because I'm like, fuck, there's no good angle. But you know what? My wife got me this tattoo. Life is good. So, like, everything could be fucking content, so you could always make money and get a little bit more engagement.
Yeah, okay. So in context of like what does it mean to commit to someone? And I'm not anti-divorce obviously, and like if things aren't working out, you should totally get it. And I don't know the intricacies of this marriage. Bethany and I grew apart as people. We were heading in opposite directions for a while. Marriage is hard, very hard, because people change over time. After 15 years, neither one of us is the same person we were when we met. But I think that the point is that when you get married, you shouldn't expect to be the same person that you were 15 years ago. To be completely honest, like I'm not the same person I was 15 years ago, and I probably am not going to be the exact same person that I was 15 years from now. So to kind of have that expectation, I don't know. I understand if it's like, you know, you can't resolve your differences or whatever, but what in regards to just like committing and what is commitment and what's like, in my opinion, I feel like you grow together and that's kind of the point, right?
So there's I think it was Stefan Molyneux who said this, but like if you date multiple people throughout your life, then you may get the chance to date like 20 or 30 people, right? And like, I'm not saying I fully agree with this, but this was, I think this, Tommy's talking mad shit. My comment.
This is the funniest shit I've ever heard. Ryan's a virgin.
No, that's me. Very pure.
But basically, so like if you date multiple people throughout your lifetime, then you only date like a handful of people. And like I said, I'm not saying I fully endorse this or agree with this, but though if you marry somebody and get an intimate connection with somebody, then you may date thousands of people throughout the lifetime because you grow with that person. Once again, I'm not saying I fully sign on endorse that, but I think it's a good point because like if you legitimately grow with somebody, then they see you, you know, at your best and worst moments, and not only that, you have somebody that you know that's going to be there for you through thick and thin. And I'm not saying that like, you know, anybody else's situation can't be the same way that it is like a normal monogamous relationship, but I think the point is that like, you know, having somebody that's there for you and you know is your person through thick and thin, and, you know, you have kids with that person, you've built a foundation with that person, there's something to be said for that.
See,
No,
well, I was going to say, as a poly person, I actually think that marriage, like, I think it's about the purpose, right? What are we doing? What are we building
Sure.
together? Right. So like, to
Yeah.
me, monogamous people have a lot of things kind of stacked on the plate kind of by default. But I think that for me, marriage is like, what is our purpose together? And what do we want to achieve with our union? Right. So I think if that isn't defined at the beginning of the marriage, that's where people get lost, because you're like, oh, I wanted a partner for life. And someone else is like, I want somebody to fucking help me build this fucking empire that we're trying to go for here. And those are two very different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think some people don't really vet or understand like the purpose of what they want out of a relationship. So this was like one thing that like my wife and I did. And I hate using my antidote because I don't want people to think that like my life story will work for them. But like my wife and I very early on established what was okay for us and what wasn't okay for us. And then, obviously as we went on throughout our relationship, we continued to kind of make sure that we were still in line all the time. I think when people don't have clear expectations, then you can run into issues. So like, obviously for me, it was like, hey, monogamy, we want children, we want a family. So this is what we're going to do to achieve that. But I think when people aren't like honest about that, then like imagine getting into a situation where you're years and years and years in, and then you find out like one person doesn't want kids or a family, or like you have separate goals. Like, why would you not just communicate that clearly to let somebody know that like, hey, this is what I want in my life. Like the most important thing, I don't know, the most important thing I'm going to do, this is what I want. So maybe I should talk to the person that I'm going to potentially spend the rest of my life with about that. Like, I don't understand how people don't have these conversations in advance.
So, Brandi, do you have anything else to add before?
Well, I just wanted to say, like, that guy did have kids and a family, and like clearly that was a priority at one point, but obviously he must have like blown up on Twitter or whatever. I don't fucking know his story, to be completely honest. And like priorities change. I do believe there is something to the concept of men, like it's literally a trope for a reason. Men leaving women when they get older, lose their physical attractiveness and wanting to find someone younger. It's literally why there's a whole concept of the midlife crisis in men. This is like a real fucking thing. Okay? Like 100% real. To act like this isn't something that a lot of men go through and will go through, I think is delusional, because it's just a fact. And then this guy, which is like adding on to what we were just talking about, your job as a woman is to use your beauty of your youth to attract your best suitor. Once completed, you must add as much sentimental value as possible before time runs out and your beauty no longer carries you. You won't lose values in his eyes if you become an asset to his life. But his wife, I would say, probably was an asset.
Well, yeah. So, like, this is such like a blue pill perspective. Like, if we're talking about like red pill in the term of of intersexual dynamics, this is the idea that like men don't want sex, right? Like, as a woman, as a wife, you should want to keep your husband there. And I've repeated this many times throughout the show, but like, I'm a good dog. You got to pet me to keep me on the porch. A guy wants laid. So if you're a woman and you're the wife and you're not having sex with your husband, he clearly does not want to stay in that relationship, because that's part of his, his prerequisites as entering a marriage. That's what a man expects out of a woman and out of a relationship.
But what if he's not sexually attracted to her anymore? No, I'm like for that. Like, let go. I agree fully on that. But like, if he becomes no longer sexually attracted to her because she gets older, she has children, if he's like, I want family, I want kids, all this stuff, she has the kids. Kids ruin your body. Most of the time.
I got it. I'm ready to go.
No. It's totally fine. I'm just trying to have this conversation because, like, if I do believe that it is common, and I have lots of friends who had children, and they've lost at least the body. They still have a pretty face, but like the body aspect has been ruined. So and they work out all the time, they try their best, but sometimes there's hormonal things that go on and you have a hard time changing it. And if you are fucking them, but there are guys that don't want to fuck their wives because their wives aren't hot anymore. Like, this happens.
So no, I don't know if it's that because they're not hot, because I have hooked up with a lot of people who are in those marriages where their husband doesn't want to fuck them. I think they're hot, but Ryan,
you are special.
Yeah, I mean, we're always dealing with this.
But what I'm saying is, there's other reasons why someone might not want to fuck someone else in their relationship. It's not just you know, like if you've been with somebody for 15 years and you haven't spoken your resentments or you haven't fucking, you know what I mean? Like it takes a lot of work to keep that fucking flame and that physical attraction going.
Well, sex is kind of the glue that's going to hold a relationship together, right? Like it's because it's not just beyond, you know, the animalistic lust. It's, you know, the connection you have with that person and the fact that you both kind of eventually come to understand what you both like in that kind of context. So, you know, there's plenty of things that women can do to keep themselves, you know, looking good into their older age. And this is kind of where I disagree with some of the more red pill influencers. I think as you get older, if you do truly love somebody and you have established quite a life with them, then like they always say like, oh, high value guy's going to cheat and you just have to tolerate that. I don't think that's true for the vast majority of guys, because the vast majority of guys don't have those kind of opportunities to them. But I even think the guys who might have those opportunities available to them, I don't think they're going to want to if the woman's good enough to them. Does that make sense?
I disagree. I mean, so maybe I'm a little black-pilled on this, but that's just because that I'm a product of an affair. My mom and dad were married to two other people, and that's how I was created. My mom got pregnant with me. And I've just seen a lot of this, like anecdotally, of course, but like, and I'm not gonna lie, my dad was not a stud. Like he had a lot of resources, but he was not a stud. And like he cheated on his wife. He had 2 kids with her, and they like if
you speak the language, it's very easy to cheat.
Yes, and I mean, my mom was younger. She's younger. Well, they were both his ex-wife was pretty young too. But I do think that it's not even about like cheating with a younger woman either. Like that trope obviously exists and it happens, but like I do think it comes down to like maybe a woman not giving the man attention, even if they're fucking them. But like for example, I have a friend. I have a friend that cheated on his wife, and the main thing that he said was the problem, because they fucked every week, but he said it was like just a thing that they did. It wasn't, there was no passion there. There was nothing.
Out the trash. It was a
yeah.
chore.
It was just like, okay, it's our weekly fuck, you know?
It's
but
negotiated. It's negotiated desire.
Yeah,
It's not genuine. Like, hey, I want to do this. Like nobody wants that. Nobody wants to hear from their wives like, oh, well, I guess I have to take my clothes off now. Like nobody wants that.
Well, it's time for the weekly fuck. Yeah. And he also said that the other aspect was that she didn't give him maybe appreciation is a better word. Maybe not attention, but like appreciation.
Okay. Yeah. So this is where I think red pill praxeology comes in understanding that. And I think all guys kind of struggle with this, but like women don't appreciate men. Like if you're waiting for your pat on the back, you're not going to get it. And everybody struggles with this. But like, if you're expecting a woman to tell you that like you've done the right thing, you ain't gonna hear it. And until you accept that, you still got a long road to hoe.
Is there a red pill answer to low libido, high libido marriages?
I was just researching this. Why was I researching this?
I mean, not
I don't
off
know.
the top of my head, but
I'm autistic as fuck.
Yeah. What do you mean by like the libido?
So
like, I know it's like you want to have sex, but like, do you mean like the woman has low libido and the guy has high libido, or vice versa?
It can go both ways. There can be guys with a low libido and a
split.
Girl. I just did research on this because
Yeah,
I don't know how I got on. Yeah, I went down this rabbit hole deep, and it's like actually pretty common. Like it's like surprisingly common on both sides. Where there are just people, and I've met a couple people like this in college that said that they just didn't have a lot of sexual, like they liked intimacy and they liked it, but it wasn't like they needed it. And this was a guy actually that I'm talking about in particular. And so like, and I do think that that's why that's like the problem with a lot of this stuff is like, it's hard because there's a lot of stuff it's almost like, putting everyone in a box that everyone is exactly the same. Everyone has the exact same libido. And like, that's just not fucking true.
I think it gets informed by the roles people assume in their own relationships. So you have somebody who becomes the sexual like initiator and the other person who's the passive like activator. And if somebody's always doing it the same way, or it gets boring to the person who's like, yeah, I'm down, they're just going to do it less because they're getting less out of it. So that's the whole like keeping things spicy, keeping things fresh. But I think in the first few years of a relationship, people are still kind of like both eager to like meet in the middle. And then it's only after 3-4 years that you really see who's what. And that can be, so I don't like, I'm always curious to hear what various dating, because my solution is to just date another person, which is not a fair answer. It's like, oh, I'll just, if you don't want to have sex with me every week or every day.
I mean, you know me, I agree with that statement. Like, so for example, say I know people that after they have children, their libido changed. So like if that was me and I had a child and my libido changed because of my hormones or whatever, and I ended up not wanting to like have sex as frequently, I would literally tell my husband and be like, let's discuss this and you should like explore that outside. Just be honest with me, obviously tell me everything, and I want to know all that fun stuff. And then who knows, maybe that'll bring back some spice, because that's usually how that stuff works. Well, in my opinion.
Okay, but like you're basically asking to negotiate desire. Like I don't think you can really just say like, hey, I'm going to do the laundry and tell you this, and then you're going to crawl into bed with me again. Like that's kind of making it.
No, we're talking about hormonal changes that are just like physiologically you have no control over. Like there are things that can happen that you have no control over. So like it's not how is that?
No. Well, I mean, there's a difference between like hormones and shit like that, and like what you actually want out of a person. Like, I don't think there's ever a guy who looks at a very attractive woman and thinks like, "Wow, I would not bend her over the rails right now." Like the vast majority of guys, when they see a woman, married or not or anything, they look at a woman and think, "Wow, that is a wonderful specimen, and I'd love to do that." Like that is what blanketly pretty much all guys always think at all times when they see an attractive woman.
So it's hard for me because that's how I feel, and so it's hard for me to like.
I've never met a guy that thought otherwise.
Unless he was like gay. I feel like I've met a lot of guys.
I kind of feel that way when I see hot women, but like, do you know? And back to the sex doll conversation though. As a woman, I would never ever fuck a sex doll though.
They make sex dolls for women.
No, like a woman's sex doll. Like I'm saying, like maybe. Like, no, I don't think I would. Even a guy, I wouldn't do it. Like, I know that it exists and there are women that probably would be about it, but I wouldn't. But yeah, I was just thinking about that because I was like, wait, I'm bisexual. Would a female sex doll do anything for me? And I was like, absolutely not. And that's like the energy aspect, I think.
Well,
but
okay, so like a guy will have sex with like, he'll jerk off the porn, he'll have sex, he'll do whatever he can to get his rocks off, right? Women, to my understanding, aren't quite the same way, where like the sex is a lot different, right? Where men just want to get off because they have a lot more testosterone, so therefore they're a lot more inclined to have a higher libido. So therefore a sex doll will do, pornography will do, a one night stand will do, their wife will do, whereas a woman isn't going to be as ready to go jerk off the stud that's a rubber statue.
I mean, no, because I like porn and like I don't want to go into intimate
but
details.
But you're bisexual, yeah.
No, but I get it. I know. Like, I guess.
I mean, the vast majority of sex toys that are sold are aimed at women, and
it's like women masturbate way more than men would like to admit. But
not more than men.
Probably not. Probably not all women. I don't know. I don't know how. I guess I don't know the stats.
I have data on this.
Okay, Ryan.
Okay. I had a sex toy
he used to own a sex toy company.
Yeah, I used to have a sex toy company. So you are correct that it's a bell curve for both genders. But there's a huge amount of overlap where there are more women. The higher end of women is way past the lower end of the curve for men, because there are men that only masturbate every few days, and there are women who masturbate multiple times a day. Like, and that's a curve. Like, so the bell curve for women masturbating and men masturbating looks like the political curve from the 90s, where it was like really close to each other. And it was like,
yeah, but okay. So, and maybe you might know this a little bit better than I do, but like the average guy will jerk off no matter what. Like the average, the low end, the high end guy, they all pretty much will jerk off, right? Whereas like only a very, 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 very small amount of women are probably, fucking ramming a dildo up their pussy.
Well, here's
dildos are not what we would use.
But you catch what I'm saying. Like they're probably a very, very small amount of women are doing it every day.
Well, so here I can push back on this with more.
I don't think that's true.
I'm completely open to it.
Dude, I'm ready for this shit. So you are speaking as somebody who has regular sex. And then when you're like I go on a trip or they're like not down, whatever, you have a like low frequency, high spike of low availability for sex. That leads you to masturbate frequently when you're like, oh, I'm not getting it, I'm going to have it. So you're like, that's when the curve is much longer, the longer you go without sexual interruption. So if the first month where you're not having sex, you're masturbating every day. The third month, you're masturbating every other day, you know what I mean? And so, because remember the numbers for the average number of sexual partners people have, 0 to 1, right? Most men are not actually having that much sex. So all this masturbate, like the people who haven't had sex in over a year aren't masturbating that much.
Okay, well, yeah.
They haven't? If they haven't?
They still masturbate. Yeah,
because
you
26. Yeah, about 26% of guys haven't had sex within the last year, and then the average guy. Yeah, the average guy has about, I think it's 6 to 8 sexual partners, and the average woman I think has like 7. So that kind of gives you a perspective on like how much people are getting.
But so interestingly enough, on a long enough timeline, women will masturbate more with assuming no sex. So women will continue to masturbate at the same lower level. Like guys have an initial spike that tapers off and goes down to something very infrequent because they get bored of it. Whereas women are doing it because it's like this,
and then they get angry.
Okay, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think the women that are rubbing their shit are probably a lot more rare than the guys who are jerking one out. Like I feel like there's way more.
But again, the sex toy market would disagree. It's a $15 billion industry.
But how many women are buying sex toys?
I have sex toys, but I actually think they're overrated. I personally think sex toys are overrated in my personal opinion. But I'm a rarity. I actually think that most women like sex toys. I think you're wrong. Like almost all of my friends love sex toys. I am one of the rare ones that prefers all natural.
I feel like most women do not buy sex toys.
I feel like I can do it better. I don't know.
So I think there are more women who don't.
Okay, hold on. I literally just Googled this. Share of people who own sex toys in the U.S. in 2022 by gender. I can't believe I'm fucking reading this right now. According to the results of a survey carried out in 2022, approximately 82% of American women own at least one sex toy, a slightly higher percentage compared to the share of male respondents who say, holy shit. Dude, you may got a point. I may be fucking way out.
I got on this.
There's a lot of assumptions that men have about women's sex drives, and I get annoyed by it. And no.
So he has the spirit of certain things are correct, where there are more women who do not participate at all than there are men who do. Like it's very rare to find a male who will not participate at all. That like 18% of women who don't own one are like, I want nothing to do with that shit. I don't masturbate. I'll wait. It's a very
and those
strong...
women are frigid, in my opinion.
Like
those women are frigid.
I wasn't saying that.
I will. If you do not masturbate as a woman, you are frigid. You don't understand your body, and I bet you don't come during sex because you don't understand how your shit works. You need to do that in order to understand how your shit works.
The whole purpose of what I was saying is basically that, like, all men have a very, very strong sex drive. It's natural to us because of our testosterone and because of our innate sexual strategy, right? So all men have a very, very strong sex drive. I do not believe that women have anywhere near as strong of a sex drive, but the women that do have a stronger sex drive, maybe they're more willing to masturbate more often. But I believe that like all men jack off at one point, whereas like there's probably a smaller share of women that jack off frequently.
There's a large percentage of that 82 bought one toy and barely use it or use it after a breakup or something like that. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. I
agree. There are definitely a percentage of women that don't. I will say that that percentage of women are frigid, and you probably don't want to fuck them anyway. I literally will say
on that.
No, this is my fucking theory, but I believe it because if you don't masturbate ever, if you've never masturbated a day in your life, then there's no way you can understand how your body works. I like that you know how to come, that you can like really understand What's
Unless
going on?
unless you've had so much sex that you've never had.
Yeah, I guess. I know, but then I guess you can figure it out once you start having sex, for sure. But I don't know. It would, in my opinion, I would think that implies a low libido because you didn't start young. Like, I'm gonna be honest.
So there are people who go for long stretches of time without sex and then meet somebody who like opens a fucking spark, and that's
Oh,
So I kind of want to dive in a little bit more on this point, and this is going to go back to knocking the trads. So like the and even like the red pill guys who take it to a little bit too much of an extreme.
can someone explain? Bottom line, become and find a non-moderate while you still can. You think girls in other countries don't masturbate? What the fuck?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
French women masturbate way more than American women.
So
I got a demographic.
When you try to find a woman who's like a virgin and your ideal virgin trad wife, and then like you get married and then you're surprised that she's a prude, and then you have sex like once a month, if that. Why are you surprised when her entire life she was told that sex is bad, and then now that she's married, you're trying to open the floodgates? Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So even like
never slut shame. It's very bad.
Well, I mean, like, you should still understand that, like, okay, on average, women who have a higher body count typically aren't as happy in a marriage, but at the same time, you should also realize that
that's not true. That is not what the statistic says.
Yes, it is.
No, it's that. Listen, it says at like 7 or 8, that's when it happens. But the people at the higher, it has no difference. The higher, like there is, it goes. There is the virgins. The virgins have the best, and then there's people.
Way less people at the higher end.
No, but higher end is like above 15. That's not true. I don't know.
Okay, so the average woman in the United States has sex with about 7 people, right? So
this
therefore,
just seems like they're lying. I don't trust this stat.
Oh yeah, of course. It goes
I'm just kidding. This is a joke.
I got no data on this one.
It was a joke, Kyle. It's okay.
But I know that I won't. I generally, as a rule, won't date people with low body counts.
Yeah. I mean, what do you consider a low body count? Like, if this is like, I feel like I'm in like the mid range, and some people think it's high, and then other people like Brian think I have a low body count.
Sam
I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know.
In case you were wondering, Sam, yes.
Brandy, are you a prude?
I don't know. I think I'm because like, so that's what's crazy. There are people that would say, like, probably a couple of these people in this chat that would say that I have a high body count, but like there are people like you, Ryan, who would say I have a low body count. So it's like I don't know. I feel like
if you're over,
she's wrong. I am right. Okay, it
over
is
20. You're doing.
He's
good.
right. It's right. That's what I'm saying. Is like the high body count bullshit when it comes to like the woman will be. And we talked about this last week, but I will say I don't agree with this concept of saying that the more sex that you have, the less.
You can be wrong all you want.
You're wrong. You didn't actually read the study correctly. Yes. But here's the thing.
But you have to correlate that with other data.
Well, Kyle, I'll say something to your. I think I have a hypothesis that agrees with you, but go ahead, Brandy.
Oh, I forgot what I was saying. I have to find the fucking study now.
So I'm willing to agree with you, Kyle.
It's general social. I think the GSS study.
So I don't know the data on this. I can't speak to it knowingly, but if I had to guess, I would agree with Kyle's assessment. And Brandy, I hear what you're saying. The people with a higher, like once you get above 20, I think everybody stops caring, and it's like that's a whole separate data set.
I think it was like above 10, if I remember correctly. It was the people in the middle that were the ones that for some reason had the issue, or the early middle. Like it was like 7 or 8, like in that area.
So my reasoning for this is if you have somebody who has, somebody with a medium low number, but is higher than like a few, they kind of care about traditional like relationship structure and kind of things like that. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to have these kind of loaded ideas about what it should be. And then if that partner is not like, if they've had sex with somebody who fucks them better, they're now not going to be satisfied in that relationship.
No.
This gets to the good point, is that you have somebody who makes a disproportionate impact on somebody. It's not about the body count itself. It's about the likelihood of somebody having a high impact on them, right? But you could have a whole bunch of bodies, but they may not be a high impact.
But I
Right.
would say that has nothing to do with actually like that they got fucked really good, but has to do with the emotional connection that they had that made the sex better.
Now you're understanding.
Yes, no, but that's what I don't think that I personally, in my opinion, think that
Your opinion.
no, well, because to be fair, you could think that sex is really good and then you have sex with another person and it be fucking like 10 times better than that. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know if there's a cap on this, to be completely honest.
Well, so my other side
if you
of that,
have a great emotional connection, like I don't think it's like you had a great emotional connection with that one person and you might have thought that you might have never found someone that would have done that, and then you found have another emotional connection that's even better and have it be even better than that was.
Brandi, those situations are the ones where people get stereotypically cheated on.
What?
Like when someone's like, "Oh, I've had sex with a bunch of like these like people who like, you know, were good in bed, but I didn't connect with them, I didn't vibe with them," and they find that person they vibe with, but they're not getting that like the sexual side of it. Those are the that's the literal stereotype of like, you know.
But you can have both.
You can have both when you find that person.
Yes.
But, you know, most people are coming into relationship with some kind of deficit where it's like, oh, I'm good at these things. I'm good at these things. But
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm kind of glad Ryan's making this point because I think a lot of guys end up getting married because they don't have any other options. Right. Whereas, like, if you're getting married, the goal should be like, hey, I think this person adds a lot of value to my life and I trust them that throughout the course of our lives are going to continue to add value. It shouldn't be because like, hey, I have no other option, so I'm sacking my anchor to this person. Once again, it should be this person. I truly love this person and they add enough value to my life that I'm okay with forsaking all other options to be with this person. And once again, that's my idea of a marriage. I understand there's open marriage and stuff like that, but I don't know if you're in an open marriage, then I don't understand the point.
I mean, I know people in open marriages.
Yeah, no. And like I said, I don't have a problem with that. But like a marriage in my mind is described in religious texts for years and years and years is one man, one woman. Now, if you want to go outside of that, okay, that's fine. But like, I don't understand why you don't just stay in a regular relationship then.
I mean, if we're talking, it's really interesting because like historical marriages had room for sex with people of a lower class. Like if you were any kind of like, so if you were like, you know, on the land farming, you're like, obviously you got to stick together to survive. But if you were any kind of like of the core of the nobility or even just like land owning, like middle class, whatever it looked like, they would sleep down. And it was because it didn't count as cheating. You're like, oh, as long as you didn't sleep with our like social equals, you haven't done anything wrong. Like you're fucking the fucking servants, you're fucking, you know. So it's actually hard to like wrap your head around what a modern marriage looks like in the context of like when people used to just be able to like, and like people would go to war, sleeping with people was fine. Like, you know, it was the culture of like having sex outside the marriage was super hard to define.
Also, there used to be like polygyny used to be like the norm where men would have multiple women. So and that's why I get annoyed when people are like this is the normal family where it's man and woman. That has not always been the case in different cultures. Right. That is not culturally true. There has been polygyny, there's polygamy, there's all this fucking shit. You know what I mean? And this actually moves on to the next thing that I wanted to talk about.
I have one thing though. I want to talk.
We're going to continue on this topic, to be honest. But continue.
I have a question for the group. And okay. Kyle, I'm most curious about your answer to this, Brandi.
Here we go.
No. But so this is what are correct scenarios where it is correct to break the commitment? So let's assume cheating, like let's write cheating off. What are other things where it's like, hey, this isn't what I signed up for. We're married, we're legally married. It is now the correct choice to seek divorce or annulment or whatever the case is.
I would think if you're getting married, I would think you should avoid divorce at all costs. But basically, like, let's say if you and a partner were no longer having sex or having that commitment, then I would believe, and I don't know the exact amount of time, I would say it probably depends upon the individual. But like, if you don't feel that connection and you're not having sex, and the relationship doesn't feel like, I don't want to say as it once did because it's pretty arbitrary, but I think you guys kind of get what I'm getting at. Then I would say at that point, it's probably okay to step outside and feel, you know, see what you need to find another partner.
Would you end the relationship first or keep the relationship? And like, so would you cheat, or would you be like, hey, I intend to like seek other partners?
I would
I'm
say,
gonna end.
I would say in that situation, you would end the relationship. And even if it's not like legally done, like the paperwork for the divorce isn't fully finalized, then I would say it's in my mind, at least, it would be okay to be outside at that point. If you both, as in like you and your wife, have both recognized it, like, hey, we're going to get divorced. And at that point, it's okay to step out. But like,
So
it should be a conscious agreement.
So you would end, because in my opinion, I would, because I assume I still love this person. I don't believe in legal marriage, but if I believing in marriage as a sacrament, I do believe in marriage as a sacrament. And like, if I was going to do that, I would want to make sure that if the person that I would do that with is the person, if I made that like sacred commitment to someone, for me, it would be, this is life. There is no ending. And if there was that, I would say yes, like not divorce, but we'll find our ways in other ways. We'll work it out. Do you know what I mean? Like figure it out would be my solution to that problem. But that's because I'm also open. So like if you're on like the more open, I'm literally in the 95th percentile in openness on the fucking Big Five, okay?
There you go. Okay, so this kind of has to be the point, is that like for the vast majority of people, I think that if you're married and you're no longer feeling that connection, you legitimately do not feel like you love that person anymore, then it should be a conscious agreement, and you like, hey, we're done here, we're getting a divorce, and then we're moving on. Like, this is why when I hear people who have on and off relationships, like, you don't have on and off relationships. You have somebody that you can't get along with, but you're trying to make it work. Like, in my mind, if you're on and off, then you should just be off, because clearly you can't get along with that person.
I agree with that.
Yeah, in my mind, a good relationship is effortless. You don't fight, at least not a majority. I mean, you're going to fight eventually, but like the vast majority of the time, you're not fighting, you get along really well, and you enjoy the other person's company. Like, if you're doing this thing where like you argue and then you say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, then like just stop, get the fuck away from that person, because clearly you cannot deal with that person.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing that would be, in my opinion, the end to the sacrament would be abuse, emotional or physical abuse would be an abuse of children, and like anything in that abuse realm, I think is grounds but as I said, I think of it as more of a sacrament, not so much. I don't like the legal concept. I don't like the idea of the government being involved in my relationship.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're looking to step outside of the marriage, and I would say it's more than likely that you no longer care for that person. I mean, if you Google the definition, which I literally just did beforehand, they say it's a legal let me make sure I got this right, because I don't want to fuck this up.
I'm friends with several of my exes.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that. But like, okay, marriage, the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. That's literally the first definition. So once again,
I know, but that's because like words evolve, and it is, and in my opinion, I am looking at it as just the religious sanctimonious kind of concept, which is what it originally was. But yes, it is a legal thing, and it has been a legal thing for I don't know how long, and I understand that. But in my opinion, I understand why it exists, and I understand why people want to do it, because it, like, the value in it, in my opinion, is that it forces a man to stay with you when a woman gets ugly. Like, for real though, like, I think that's the value, is like a woman, it's her security. That's the point of legal marriage. Sure, because yeah. I think that a lot of men I genuinely think this idea that men no longer become sexually attracted to their wife, or like the sex dwindles and all of this other stuff. It's kind of like a way to like keep that bound for the children and to pass off assets to future generations.
I have a follow-up to the question I originally posed, and then we can move on if we want.
Yeah.
How about addiction?
Okay, what addiction to what?
So, all right, that's a fair question. But let's say, so like it's, the question was, what does commitment look like? What if your partner is going through addiction? It's a solvable addiction. Let's say it's like alcohol, maybe cocaine, maybe weed doesn't count. I don't know, pills, right? Painkillers. They had a serious accident. They're now addicted to fucking painkillers, and they're trying to break the cycle, but are having a hard time doing it. What is that like? What does that look like for you? It doesn't need to be about your actual wife, but like,
no, of course. Yeah, no, in my mind, you would take care of that person so long as you still feel the genuine feelings for that person and make sure that they're okay and kind of get through it. I
Brandy,
mean,
every
because
time you fix your camera, I think you're waving at me. I'm
No,
sorry.
no. I'm trying to
I mean,
fix.
I've seen this more times than I count, and it's one of the most beautiful things I can fucking think of. But the one story that comes to mind was the old Mac tool guys that I had when I worked for my dad and worked for a specific dealership down in a small town. And this dude had took care of his wife while she had dementia, and to the point that she didn't even remember his name. And like that is like, I think that's what most people think of when they think of an ideal marriage. Like that is absolutely beautiful. My step grandfather, funny enough, as much as people want to bust my balls about me rowing against step parents, and I do, so fair enough. But my step grandparent had took care of my sick grandmother with breast cancer because she never thought to go get treatment or anything like that till the day that she died. So like in situations like that, I think you absolutely work through with somebody through that.
Yeah, I would say it depends on the context of the situation.
Yeah,
for
so I
me.
mean,
If
like,
it's
if it would be like
if they're
drugs or
like,
something like
because
that,
I was an addict and I actually had someone who I was dating at the time that I call my guardian angel, and he actually helped me through that time period of my life. I was addicted to Xanax, and he was there for me when I went through withdrawals, like everything, and like was a super supportive person. It was a brief relationship because he ended up having to move away for a job, but like still I think about that. I was like, that was a really nice thing that person did. He just and so I think it just depends on if you think that they want to help themselves. Because if that person does not
Exactly,
want to
yes.
help themselves, then there's no point. They're going to keep going back. Like I was at a crossroads where I was like, I wanted to change and I knew I needed to because I lost like everything in my life. I just got arrested. I lost my job. Like everything was falling apart. So like I had no choice I literally was like, I want to get better. And I think this person saw that and helped me through it. And so I think it just depends on the context. In a marriage, I would think that you would know that once you started dating, though. But is this like they developed an addiction while you were in a relationship?
I mean, alcohol's an easy one to like progress, like where you're like, you know, oh, they party, they drink, you know, and then it gets out of hand after
Yeah.
you know, however many years.
Yeah, for sure. For
If
sure.
someone's-
I do
someone's
think it depends on
slipping
are they
needles.
abusive when they're drunk? What is their behavior when they're drunk?
Yeah.
Because there is a difference between someone that just drinks and someone that's behavior is like unbearable. And you're like, bro, like you're just an unbearable person to be around when you drink. So there is a
Yeah.
difference there too.
I think like the people who legitimately want to get better, I think it was a good caveat that Brandy added, is that like if the person has no like, it seems like there's no end in sight, then eventually you have to learn like, okay, it's triage. I kind of have to let them burn out however they do that. And I no longer want to be a part of that. I mean, people could still choose to be a part of that, but like, you know, that's going to be up to each individual person to decide whether or not they want to invest time in somebody that seems like a lost cause, or they think they could, you know, find redemption with that person.
No, I feel that. That's cool.
If there's no way a marriage spouse should suddenly want to stop loving Regan because of looks, body changes, I mean, I would hope that that's true, but I don't know if that is true. Sex is a ridiculous measure. Learn how to work out your differences.
It's
I
one of
mean,
many
yeah,
metrics.
and in my opinion, if the like what you were saying, libido differences, if there's a libido difference, like where one has a high, one has a low, and you're married and you love each other, I genuinely think the solution to that is opening the relationship. Personally,
I don't think that's going to work for the vast majority of people.
No, I think that's terrible advice.
I think
okay,
I think
maybe
that's
it's
horrible
terrible
advice
advice,
for
but
most
what's the other
people.
solution besides divorce or
Meet in the middle.
cheating? Is
Yeah, meet in
it
the
better to
middle.
just cheat?
Either that,
Like-
or like as a guy, become more attractive so that way your wife won't have sex with you more. Either that, or you know, as a
No, but
woman,
you're
do
saying the
something
guy,
different.
but like we're talking about women too. Like it's not just men that are going through that. Like there are physiological changes that happen to women as they get older. Everyone talks about it, the wall, women becoming less attractive. Like it's definitely a thing. So like And unfortunately, there's not much women can do to a certain point about certain things.
The vast majority of guys will not have to worry about this because they're in a state of sexual deficit. They're not worried about all the options that they have. They're willing to take what they can get. So for the average guy, they're not really worried about if their wife is insanely attractive or not. They'll take it if they can get it still. For the vast majority of guys.
I guess you're right.
The average guy makes about $39,000 a year, right? So clearly he's not rolling in it. So if he can get his wife to sleep with him, he's plenty happy.
Oh God, this makes me want to share something I found, but I wanted to go on to the next topic, which was kind of correlated to this, which was nuclear family versus multi-gen, which I have kind of been on a kick about because I see a lot of people promoting the concept of the nuclear family, which is basically 2 adults and their children. Was kind of cemented. People might argue with me about this, but it was really cemented in the 1950s. Before that, I would say multi-gen was more common. People lived with their parents. Like, people had their parents move in with them as they got older. It was kind of like a transitional thing that would happen. I started going on a kick. So my favorite socialist, and it's mainly because I just want to fuck her. I fucking love this girl, dude. I like Shu. I'm so insanely attracted to Shu. Like, I just want to fix her. So it's weird how frowned upon living at home is. I lived with my parents till I was 27, moved back home during the pandemic, moved back out a year later. When you have a good family, it's based in nice. I grew up in a multi-gen household too. The Anglo mind can't comprehend this. And so I'm Italian. My mom's side's family is Italian. And I would say that multi-gen kind of family, like, my family wasn't, I don't know if it would be considered. I don't really know what the rules are here, but I would say that, like, I guess kind of, my grandma lived next to me, that my family was multi-gen, I guess. And in my opinion, I do think that there is kind of like a structure there that's beneficial. And the thing that I think happens within the nuclear family structure is that it can make people become like obsessed with their kids. I don't know. Does anyone else feel this?
Wait. Does nuclear family not take care of the grandparents? Like,
usually it's more. So the concept of the nuclear family is parents, children. That's it. That's what the nuclear family definition is. It's like people moving off to the suburbs, and that's it. It's not that they don't have relations with their families, but they don't live, like, you don't live next to your parents. Do you know? Sure. Or like have them in your, literally live with them.
I would think I pulled up the definition. It says a couple and their dependent children regarded as a basic social unit. I would agree that it's like, okay, just like a parent, the parents and their kid or kids. But I really don't see the multi-generational family as a bad thing either. I think that's actually a good thing because it helps provide a stable family structure over time. So, the grandparents may be able to take care of the kids, especially in like today's day and age where like, okay, well, both parents have to work now because, our currency isn't worth as much as it used to be. So both parents have to work, and then you could have the grandmother watch the kids. And then, eventually as the grandmother gets old, she's no longer able to care for herself. Then the parents can step in, or the grandkids can step in and take care of the grandmother then, and then it keeps going. I think that's actually a good thing. But, clearly we don't have that kind of like situation for most people now. I think it's just because like people don't think about that.
I called that the nuclear family. Like both sets of my grandparents moved in with us throughout various like health periods, but we were like, they didn't live with us. It was like they became infirm, we sold their house, and then they moved in with us until they passed. Like is that not nuclear family? Like that feels
the nuclear family definition says a couple and their dependent children regarded as basic social unit.
That's the definition. But also I do think that this isn't something that is plausible for a lot of people within our generation, especially because of just like, there are a lot of people that have shitty parents, to be completely honest. Like, maybe not a lot, but like a good amount, like the boomers were kind of fucked, to be honest. And like, there are a lot of people that have not really that family unit. And in my opinion, I feel like that kind of brings up the conversation of like, how do we create that? Because there's a lot of people that are like, how can you imagine having kids? There's no safety net, you know, there isn't that multi-gen concept. Well, and this also goes down to like this person that I wanted to share, because this person got a lot of hate because she lived with her parents, but I also like, I wouldn't live with my mom because of her controllingness and because of how controlling she was.
Is the assumption that multi-gen is better than nuclear?
No, there is like, no, I think a lot of people think nuclear family is the answer, but they also, because here's the thing, nobody wants to live with their parents. Like, let's, like, long term, let's be real. That's why people put them in homes and shit. But that's what this woman, she's 25, lives with her parents.
A video for fucking Elijah Schaefer.
Hey guys, I'm 25 years old and I still live at home, and my mom cooks food for me all the time, and you guys are like, hate. Let me show you something, okay? I just had a bubble bath. I'm about to head downstairs and show you what's waiting for me. A fresh apple tart. Out of the oven, cooling. With some wine.
Do you want to know, in my opinion, the only reason why why your kids would want to live with you and why this would work is if you are not controlling, if you let your kids live their lives. Because if I would never live with my mom, because if my sister lives with all three of my little sisters live with my mom, and my brother, my oldest brother, lives down there. It's still multi-generational. He takes care of my mom, and he lives literally right next door. And my mom controls every aspect of my little sister's lives because of the religious part of what I come from. And in my opinion, a lot of kids aren't going to want to live through that too. So you're not going to want to have that multi-generational situation. If you wanted that, you couldn't be controlling to your kids, because if you're controlling to your kids are not going to want to fucking stay with you. They're going to just leave and want to get their independence. The only way this would work is if you let your children have independence as they grow.
But did you see those countertops? Those were middle upper class countertops. So I mean, it's like that's like a hard situation to leave when you're like, I'm gonna go live in this fucking shithole in the fucking like college district where I have 5 roommates.
I bet that girl is allowed to do whatever the fuck she wants. I know a lot of people like this in Boston. I bet that that have this multi-generational thing, especially in East Boston. They're mostly Italian families. My ex-boyfriend was from a family like this, and I thought it was weird that so many people still lived with their parents in their like mid to early 20s. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But now that I think about it, I'm like, it kind of makes sense, though.
Are they bringing people back to like hook up with?
That's what I'm saying. Like, so dating, that is the struggle. A girl, I don't think it would be as hard for. I think a girl living with her parents, people wouldn't judge as much. I think people would judge a guy way more so for living with their parents.
They're literally, that's like an insult on the internet, is you live in your parents' basement.
Yes, exactly. But I think a girl can get away with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, this goes to a point I made before, that like men don't give a shit about what women bring to the table other than what they offer as a woman. They don't care about their income. They don't care about the masculine aspects of women. There's a really good point that I had, but what the fuck was the point? I literally had a really good point I wanted to make, but it just fucking slipped from my mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead. It'll come back to me in a second.
So yeah, I was gonna say like and here's no. With the multi-generational thing is that I don't like, for example, I don't think that comes from just wealth. Like, because a lot of the people that I know in East Boston and stuff, they weren't like, it wasn't like a wealthy family. It was like, they bought a house a long time ago and could afford to have like what would be like my apartment, which is like a 2-family house. Like that's what they had for their entire family.
So my thought on this, and I'm obviously not a parent yet, so take this with a grain of salt, but like my thought on this would be that like you should want to be the great parent that like you've fostered a child who's able to foster their own independence as early as possible, but they know that they're welcome to stay, right? Like you should want to be, and then obviously as you get older, you should want to foster a good enough relationship that your kids would say, hey, we want to take care of you because we had such a great relationship as a kid. And like this is kind of like where we start getting into rights and stuff, because like I believe children do have positive rights because they didn't voluntarily choose to be born into the world. So therefore the parents are obligated to give them a good life because they didn't choose to be born or anything like that.
Yeah, and so this goes into our thesis is that our primary cause of the rise of mental disorders is a decline over decades in opportunities for children and teens to play, roam, and engage in other activities independent of direct oversight and control of adults. So, and I feel like in their, I'm not saying that that's entirely it, but I do believe like letting your kids be independent would make them be more likely to want to stay. And I do think that, that like in my opinion, I do think multi-gen would be beneficial for the children because then they can save money, they can take care, they can get to that point where they can grow, like work a job, obviously, and develop their independence. I see that as a benefit, but only if you allow them that independence. Because if not, they're not going to want to fucking do that anyway.
So I don't have any data on it, but my siblings and I were all raised very independent, and we all kind of scattered to the winds. Like,
yeah, not saying that you have to stay, but saying that I think that if like you needed to, would you have? Like, would you have felt comfortable doing that if you had no choice?
So, I mean, one of my siblings lives back at home now because my parents are getting to the point where they're like in bad health, and so you know, we all my brothers and I kind of were like, "What's our situations?" And he was like, "I have the easiest abandonment of what my shit is right now. I'll go home." And he actually owns a house across the street from them, so he has his independence and can still, you know, go over, check on them, help them do but they're old, right? Like I'm almost fucking 40, so imagine how old they are.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that it does make sense, and I think we all just kind of like had a conversation about that, where it was like it needed to be done. So who's going to do it? And I'm trying to restructure my life in a way where I can kind of like tap down there more and like let him like go out into the world again, because I know you're going fucking crazy down here.
See, my oldest brother, what my mom had him when she was 16, and he took that. He just had always, to be honest, I don't know if it's healthy. He married someone exactly like her. I think it's super weird, but like, like so weird. I'm like, you literally married a clone of her mother and you live next door to her. I don't know. Like, but he has always like kind of taken that responsibility and role like throughout my whole life. And maybe that's due to the fact that she had him so young and he, I think, had to like become that responsible person at such a young age. But yeah, I don't know. I think that what bothers me about this, like bring things back to the 1950s, I think that why would we want to bring things back to the generation, like the time period that created the boomers, which is the highest divorce rate in the world? Like that, like that generation has the highest divorce rate. Why would we want to go back to that time period? It makes no fucking sense to me. I do not think the nuclear family works. That is my thesis. I'm not saying that everyone has to agree with me, but I genuinely think that that's actually was a bad thing that happened. And in my opinion, and if you do not have those family structures, which I think a lot of people do not, what we need to do is we need to create friends. Like friends is family, like
Chosen
and kind
family,
of yeah, and this is why my argument is that I don't think a poly family is bad. Like if people that were poly wanted to have children and they managed to make it work and having that support structure, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you need support structure with children. I do not believe it is a wife and husband and kids. Like I don't think that that's the healthiest structure. I think you need a family and a bigger net, or you need friends that are there for you, or you need like multiple partners. Like I don't know, I think you need more people involved. I think this concept that it's just a man and a woman raising children and without support system is actually destructive, and it's what created the boomers.
The boomers. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah.
I don't think saying that like, hey, we need a support system, so therefore we should go poly. I think
No,
that's a bad,
that's
right?
not what I'm saying. No. I'm saying that's like
I don't think that's a good idea either.
No. I'm saying that I don't think that it would be bad for the children if poly people wanted to raise kids and they did it correctly. I don't think like just because they're poly it would immediately be detrimental. I'm not telling people to go be poly because it's a better situation to raise children. That is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Monogamous people do the village as it is. Like the children in my family, right? It's the sister-in-law. There's a whole bunch of people who are all having kids at the same time, and they're traded. The grandparents are involved. So it is a village, and I think that's the system working properly. Right, where you get into trouble is when people are isolated, when people don't make friends, or whatever reason where they're not able to lean on other people's resources to be able to like if you're doing it alone or going it just like even if it's just two parents, like it's not even a broken house, it's still incredibly fucking hard and energy draining. You need so. And that yawn is probably our cue.
I agree. I was just gonna say like mutual. This is why I'm super about like mutual aid societies and concepts like this. Though we don't have them anymore. Historically, we did within like fraternal orders and stuff. And I do think that was because when people immigrated here, they didn't have their family structure that they had in other countries. So people created these fraternal orders to give them those safety nets, which we do not have in the United States currently. So I think that we have to come up with these new solutions to these problems, and the nuclear family isn't the answer. Hot take.
I do think we are seeing a rise in local community and like people caring about their like local community almost as a backlash to social media and like the kind of globalization of community. Like we're now finding like it's a shallow pool to swim in. And I think people are coming back and being like, I want to be near my friends. I want to buy houses near where my other friends are going to buy houses. Like I'm excited to be the cool uncle to all the friends I have who are fucking raising kids. Like it's great.
Yeah.
Posting the fuck trophies for clout.
No, like one of my best friends.
What?
Like I'm her favorite aunt, and I'm not her biological aunt. She likes me more than her biological aunt and uncles. So, but wait, he dipped.
We lost Kyle.
We lost Kyle, but we were ending anyway, so...
My hot take on the boomer generation, though, was because they went from a period of war where the things were low, and then,
Well, no, but that wasn't the boomer. That was the greatest generation. So, the boomers...
are the kids. That's what I'm saying. So the greatest generation was a generation that didn't have... They had the ratio. We thought you just fucking mic dropped out of it.
I was like, did he just Irish goodbye?
I meant to pull up a video, but...
I think that's a perfect time though if we want to call it.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should.
I agree.
I got something we could end on, but this.
Okay, what do we want to end on, Kyle? Share it.
Hold on, because this might be a future guest. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm almost there.
We should also talk about being friends with exes on the next episode.
Dude,
spicy.
There was some chatter in the fucking comments.
I know, and I didn't get to like the workshop, but we'll do that next time if we
save it.
Can,
this was good. Good.
Yeah, we flowed. Oh my God! Stop.
What is this? What am I looking at?
It's Matt Walsh. You don't know who this is?
Ryan Stone tweeted, showing off the F trophies for clout.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize you were making a fucking...
It's not a surprise that a picture of a proud father would be so upsetting to the sort of man who clearly never had one.
Oh my God. Yeah, he's going to be on next week, potentially next Thursday, Ryan Stone. Hey.
He is so fucking funny.
But yeah, no, what you were like, I just wanted to close on what you were saying, Ryan, is that I think that when it comes to like the generational gap, like the greatest generation they went through, like in the 1920s, was basically like our like it was like degeneracy. Everyone doesn't realize it's cyclical, and like the 1950s didn't fucking work. It didn't make anything better. It just made people go even more degenerate in the 60s, in my opinion. Like, I feel like people think if we go back to trad values and we reestablish a nuclear family, it's going to be better. It didn't fucking work, bro. So, like, why not come up with new, better solutions that might work?
So I agree with that it didn't work, but I don't think your argument is a good one. Like that's not accounting for World War II. Like that's a major
no, but the boomers
variable.
were no. Yes, so World War II did shift a lot.
All
of
right, there we go. Let's
perspectives.
World War II next show. Let's go.
There we go.
All right. Peace out, fam. Bye. I'm going to be on actually in 15 minutes with Liberty Dad and Emo ANCAP, and we're gonna talk about gun control and some other shit because there was a shooting in Maine, and that's where I'm from, and shit's real emotional right now. So we're gonna just talk about this shit because it's a hot topic in my mind. So I'll see you guys in like 15 minutes.
Hold on. If you are in southwestern Pennsylvania, my band is playing this weekend. It's a Halloween show at Woodpeckers in New Kensington. See you in there.
Go see him.
I got nothing to promote. I don't know why I'm here.
Peace. Love you. Bye.
Good night, guys.